Attention all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
We have General Holt with us, and he's one knowledgeable guy, one good friend, and he knows where everything, which way everything is going. Well, General Holt, what the heck is going on? I mean, do you have any pulse of what's going on in Iran?
Good morning. Yes, I do. They're in complete chaos and disarray, but there's very good reasons to be encouraged by that. What we're seeing in Iran is an IRGC that is on its last gasp. It's running out of weapons. It's certainly broke. And are
they getting paid?
No, they're not getting paid. Scott Bessent's done a marvelous job of mopping up all that money. And, they're not receiving any oil revenue as yet. And they can't pay anybody anyway. They're isolated. The number one and number two issue in Iran right now today is food and water. And so this puts the vice president into a marvelous leverage position to get what he wants from a group of civilian Iranians that are as terrified of the IRGC as the population is. And so the IRGC is really the long pole in the tent, John, and I believe that that's going to take care of, if not itself, the United States will certainly help with that as we get Iran to the next chapter.
And General, I mean, some of these fake newses that go out and panic some of the media about Iran, we're on again, off again, on again, off again. I mean, shouldn't the media be smart enough to realize that you have to decide who's speaking and who's giving them the fake news?
Oh, they should, and they're certainly capable of doing that, but they're welded to one idea, and that is throw rocks at President Trump, and they all want to see him fail, and they certainly don't want to see him get this victory in the Middle East ahead of the midterms like this. And so they're going to criticize every molecule of everything that happens every day. But let's be honest, what President Trump has done is amazing. We have an Iran that's basically defanged. It doesn't have much of a military at all left. It's certainly not going to be able to make any nuclear weapons or start producing weapons. And it's got a very expectant population that wants their country back. And I see the Venezuela model emerging, and that, yes, that's going to make a lot of eyeballs bleed in the media circles, but so be it.
Are ships moving? Are tankers moving?
They are. I just checked again this morning. We see a steady stream. We're not at capacity by any stretch of the imagination. But where we normally see 120 ships a day transiting, we're now probably looking at about 40, maybe 50 on a good day over the last 5 days. And that's only going to pick up from here. They're probably going to be extra safe about the mining thing. And again, the IRGC is an impediment here. But I believe all that's getting cleared up over these next few weeks.
Give us the pulse on Lebanon. What the heck is going on? Is Israel and are they still exchanging?
Well, yeah, we had a broken piece of this here. So you had the IRGC, which is telling Hezbollah to go throw everything you've got at Israel. Israel then predictably going on into Lebanon. And then the Lebanese getting upset about their sovereignty. And so what I see coming together is a really brilliant plan. Vice President Vance and President Trump are trying to wicker the Lebanese and the Israelis, their defense forces, working together to eradicate the last of Hezbollah there in the south. The Lebanese can take care of Beirut. And they'll do so under a common framework and rules of engagement that the United States can monitor. And doesn't that just make sense? Because if we handle it that way, as Hezbollah dies out from supply chain issues and money issues, we'll be on our way to the Abraham Accords. And it'll give you a clear path towards that, and you won't have adversaries in Lebanon and Israel.
General Holt, this is Jake Novak. We got some really dramatic news over the weekend that the IDF had surrounded Hezbollah's Pentagon, their underground Pentagon in the Ali Taher Ridge, and it's still surrounded. Now, apparently, we heard reports that they were told not to move in. This seems to be like something that may have helped turn the Iranians into a little bit more of a desperate actor in the talks. It's still very volatile, as you said. In fact, we just got a report from the Israeli media that some gunmen near the troops in Lebanon were hit by the Israelis, and Hezbollah saying the truce was violated. We're going to hear this kind of stuff for days. But this Ali Taher Ridge and this underground control center for Hezbollah built for them by Iran. What can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, they have a bunker system and a tunnel system, and this probably is not the only one. But the fact that they have a line on it, if they can bring in the Lebanese forces to help them close the deal there, that'd be great. But when we go back to the mothership, which is really the IRGC, and the reason I say IRGC, and I'm specific about that, is because you can't say Iran or the Iranian regime anymore. If you ask me about the Iranian regime, I'd say which one. There's 3 and maybe 4 by next week. Because the mullahs are dying out. Moshtaba, a man without legs, is the last legs of that. And then you have the IRGC, which is running out of everything, and all they can do is phone it into Hezbollah. But the IRGC is still dangerous, and so you have these civilian negotiators in the middle who could be the new interim leaders. But if they come home to Tehran saying, "Yeah, we're going to do everything the United States wants because we lost," then the IRGC will just kill those guys. And so it's a very, very complex situation. But I think when you take a look at all the different agendas and all the different things going on, we're managing it quite well. And let's remind everybody that there's no 130,000 U.S. forces on the ground in Iran.
Yeah, I just saw a bulletin that 1.9 million barrels moved yesterday through the Strait.
Yep. It's moving, and it's going to alleviate a lot of pain. It's also going to keep the Chinese on the sidelines. The Europeans, all they can do is say thank you because they didn't lift a finger on what would be their vital interests. And here's the adversary nobody really talks about, Lloyd's of London. They're the ones who have stopped up the straits financially. And when President Trump went up to the G7, basically gave them all a reminder. Let's remember that President Trump, the night before Keir Starmer resigned, had said he would do just that. So one can only wonder what Starmer and President Trump had talked about when the G7 was going on.
Well, I guess he had some information on them. Last question. Putin and Zelensky, Ukraine and Russia, what the heck is going on?
Well, it's getting more dangerous, and it's probably going to escalate before we start to see the end of it. I imagine President Trump is pretty stern with the Europeans that not only did they not lift a finger in the Middle East, that none of them has lifted a diplomatic finger to try to end this war. And Putin is getting very frustrated with the attacks on Russia. But then, the neocons want it both ways. They say if we don't stop Russia here, they're going to take over all of Europe. They can't even get past the Dnieper River. At the other end of the spectrum, they have the best nuclear weapons on the planet. And so why keep poking the bear? Why not just cut a deal? And unfortunately, that's the situation Kiev finds themselves in. They're a valiant fighting force, but they're not going to be able to defeat Russia. And if that's the case, then why aren't we exploring the end by other means, which is exactly what Europe needs to do immediately instead of doubling down with this $90 billion in garbage.
Anything else the American people should know on the, Tuesday morning? I'm losing track of time.
Primary day.
I don't know. Oh, that's right. I can't even go vote. There's nobody to vote for.
Vote off and vote early. The Americans should be very encouraged by what they see overseas. But that doesn't mean that a force called the IRGC, which is about to go into martyrdom, won't do something drastic on the way out. And that means watch for cell activity here. If they activate cells as the last gasp, we need to see something, say something, keep our heads on a swivel. After all, we do have the 4th of July coming up, and we certainly have the World Cup going on.
Yeah, speaking of the World Cup,
to watch after everybody.
Speaking of the World Cup, General, not a lot of people picking up on this story, but we learned that there was evidence of a plot by the IRGC to insert terrorists into the Iranian national soccer team. Now, the good news is, it looks like that has been at least alerted to us, and they're under heavy security. But that's really, really frightening.
It is. And as a military man, I would tell you that's probably what I would call a tactical deception. It's so obvious that they would try to infuse terrorists there. So what I wonder is what is the real operation that they're working on? They would always put some of their cannon fodder to go get picked up by the FBI. What are they really doing? And that's So I would just say we're not out of the woods. Everybody needs to just keep their head on a swivel and report anything that looks absolutely off base here because, success overseas means a little bit of danger here because of 4 years of open borders.